Hey everyone, it's Graham. I'm trying to reboot the show after kind of just randomly stopping producing it a couple months ago. I'm so sorry for doing that. I got really busy with school and I didn't have time to be producing a full-fledged podcast. So now that I've kind of found some free time again, I am going to be rebooting the show, and it is going to be changing format just a little bit. So instead of doing an episode every week like I had originally said we were going to when the show started, we're just going to be doing one bi-weekly, though I am going to be interacting with my Substack every week. So if you're liking my content, you can find a little bit more of it there. It's going to be like sneak peeks at next week's script and things like that, if you wanted an idea. So we're also going to kind of cut back on the really research side of this show because I don't have time to be researching and writing a full script for all of these episodes. So they're going to really just kind of follow the flow of how I want them to, and they're going to be a lot less put together. Now that you have been introduced to Season 2 episode, or I guess just Season 2 of Graham Talks Politics, this is the first episode, titled Charlie Kirk, No Kings and a National Spending Crisis. Let's get into it. So first on the chopping block this week, I feel I have to make my comments about the Charlie Kirk shooting available somewhere, because I am still hearing something about it every single day, whether it be at school or out in public or on the internet. I still hear about it every day, and that really kind of irks me in a lot of ways. So here's my official statement. Quote, Charlie Kirk is dead. Let him be dead. I want to make it clear I don't support his assassination, and I think it's wrong on so many levels. But I also can't stand the fact that America is trying to remember him as something he definitely was not. An angel. End quote. In case you weren't aware, Charlie Kirk was a right-wing political activist. He was known for his incredibly racist, elitist, fascist-leaning authoritarianism kind of advocacy. He is best known for being a podcaster and for founding the 501c3 nonprofit Turning Point USA. And Turning Point USA is really kind of a nasty organization, and they are kind of trying to convert young Americans into a more conservative thinking by feeding them really lies on high school, college, and university campuses, and that's really something that I think is horrible and no one should support, whether their beliefs are conservative or not. Second, this week, I wanted to just go ahead and congratulate American citizens for really taking a stand for their beliefs. I guess now 2 weekends ago, at the nationwide No Kings protests. This was really a big showing of just how many people still care about democracy. And it was organized and peaceful and really, organized, peaceful protesting is the best way to make our grievances known. And on the same topic, I really wanted to address Donald Trump's response to these, well, really international protests, because there was some going on outside of the US as well. And his response was to post an AI-generated video of him flying a fighter jet that was dumping waste onto protesters. And really, this response was not only childish and immature, but it did signal to me, at least, that he is in fact afraid of these huge displays of dissent, and that he is afraid to admit that. Because really, all people in power start to fear when millions of the people they're supposed to lead rise against them, especially in really intelligent, organized, peaceful ways that are nearly impossible to punish them for. And lastly, this week, I really wanted to address the lack of a national budget being passed. So, the government has now been shut down for it's been a month now. And the government continues to spend hundreds of millions of dollars that they don't have on things that they don't need. I think notably this is 2 luxury private jets for the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, better known in the media as the Ice Barbie. And also, we're spending money on a ballroom that is kind of publicly funded. Like, that's not really taxpayer money, but that's kind of complicated, and it is coming from people that Donald Trump provided tax cuts to, so it's kind of iffy on whether that is taxpayer money or it's not, and I don't want to get into that today. But we also sent a huge amount of money to Argentina, and we're spending money on defense, and really just things that the country doesn't have money to be spending. And this is all while millions of Americans are losing their SNAP benefits. If I'm not mistaken, a federal judge did order that reserve funds be used to fund SNAP in the meantime, before this budget is passed. But still, while millions of Americans were thinking they were going to go without food for the holidays, and while millions of Americans' health insurance prices are skyrocketing, and just so many other horrible things are happening within this country, and we go and we spend all this money on Argentina, and we spend all this money on the Secretary of Homeland Security, and just things that we don't need. And then I also wanted to kind of touch on how conservatives are arguing that it's the Democrats' fault that a budget has not been passed yet. And I want to say that really this is not true, because conservatives not only have control of both houses of Congress, but they have control of the presidency. Really, all they need to do to be able to pass this budget is to make a simple compromise, and they would get the support they need from Democrats to be able to pass this bill. And that compromise is not something really huge. It's just agreeing to not completely gut Medicare and Medicaid benefits for the millions of Americans that rely on them to get health care. And I know that was a very short and sweet episode this week, but that is going to be all Next week's episode will be much more extensive, and we're going to go a little more in depth into some of these topics probably. But I hope that you have a wonderful week, and please don't forget to subscribe to my Substack.